have to agree all these terms which we don't really read all the time. Okay, so you have to download it from here, and you will get the link of your download, and it will start downloading. Okay, I got it, but I'm not going to download it because it's going to take a lot of time. So move back to the presentation now. Now you have whenever you download it, whenever you try to open it, this Android Studio setup will open up for you. Now you have to click on the next for that. Now here it will ask you for the Android virtual devices. In this Android virtual device, okay, I personally don't use the Android virtual device which is pre-built in the Android Studio because it is pretty much heavy. But for the beginner, for the newbie, I will recommend it that you do install this Android virtual device. But I use the emulator from the BlueStick, so it's just a personal choice. But if you want to use the other emulators than the Android virtual device, then it would be quite complex to run there. So just stick to the Android virtual device installation. All right, so you got to do the next here. You have to browse your path wherever you want to install your Android Studio. After you will ask it will ask you the folder name, then you have to give it the Android Studio Basic. So you don't have to think about it so much, just go for the installation. All right, the installation will be starting very soon, and it will look some like this, then it will end like this. Now you have to click on the next. Now you have to install your Android Studio is installed now, but it is not completely installed. It does have to download the SDK files of the Android development. So whenever you just finish, whenever you click on the finish, it will start. Your Android Studio will be started, and it will ask you a dialog box will be pumped up for you, and it will ask you the two questions that if you ever installed the Android Studio previously, so you can import the settings or all the configuration you had in your last Android Studio. But if you haven't done it, you just say don't you just click on here, do not import the setting. All right, so this will install your Android Studio, and this here will download some SDK components. Then after that component, it will direct you to the welcome dialog box. Then you have to click on the standard. It's a basic, you don't have to worry about that, just go for the standard right now. And you have to select your UI theme, whichever you want, dark theme or the the light theme, whichever you prefer. Here click next. Then it's time to download your SDK components. All right, now it will download your Android Studio SDK components, and it will take a lot of time for that. You have to download all those components, and it will take it's gonna take so much time, so you have to wait for it. And in the end, it will end like this. It will end like this, and then you have to open your Android Studio, and it will ask you to start your new Android project. But remember one point, that whenever you install the Flutter, and whenever you open this screen again, it will there will be another option of the Flutter project. So you have to click on that Flutter project to start out your Flutter application. So now this is our Android installation is done. Now we have to install our Flutter SDK. So it's time to for the Flutter installation, and you have to download the Flutter SDK from the flutter.dev. Let me just show you where it is. We'll go to the read the Flutter installation here. Now you have to click on this website, flutter.dev, and you will be redirected to the Flutter this website, official website of the Flutter. Now it depends on your OS, which OS you have, whether you have the Mac OS, Linux, or the Chrome OS, or the Windows. You have to click according to your OS. For now, most of us have the Windows, so we'll go for the Windows here. Then okay, it giving us some kind of the system requirement. So what you need as the operating system here for the system requirement, you must have the Windows 7, at least Windows 7 SV1 Service Pack 1, or the later versions, Windows 8, Windows 10 will be fine, will be working absolutely fine. And the space, the needed disk space is 1.32 GB. And the tools you need to uh, install before the Flutter, which is the Windows PowerShell 5.0, or any other newer version, and it is probably pre-installed in the Windows 10 but may not be the in Windows 7. And you also have to install and download the Git for the Windows. I'm not going to download these files, you have to do it by your own. But for the Flutter SDK, what you would need to do here, you have to click on here, and you have to download this zip file. And after that zip file, let me just show you here. After that zip file, okay, you just install your zip file. Now what you need to do here, you have to go to the folder, to the path wherever you install wherever you downloaded your Flutter SDK. Now what you need to do here, you have to right click on your Flutter SDK, and you have to extract it into the local disk C. All right, but you have to remember one point, that before that you have to go to the local disk C, and you have to create a folder name SRS for the source. All right, then you have to extract the Flutter SDK in that folder. All right. Okay, now what you need to do here, let me just show you in my console. Now you have to update your Flutter path. So how you gonna do it? You go to the Windows C, this source folder where I have extracted my Flutter SDK. All right. Now you have to go to the bin, until the bin. All right. Now what you need to do here is to copy this path, and go to the environmental variable. Yeah, this one, environmental variable. All right, now you have to click here the environmental variables. Okay, you have to go to the system properties, where you will have the option of the environment variables, and you have to click on this path, and you have to click here to edit this path to add our Flutter path. So I have a lot of path edit here. So to add the new path, if I want to add new parts along with these parts, so what you need to do here, you have to write first, you have to write the semicolon here to end the previous path is. All right, now you have to paste your path, whatever the your Flutter path was, you have to paste that Flutter path.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
What?
Sorry for interrupt, sir. Can you talk Urdu?
Yeah, I can talk in Urdu, but Sadaka said me that you have to do it in English.
So there's a good number of
Sir,
international people. That's why we are speaking English language. They will be far better if you understand this. You'll get so much knowledge if you drop a text personally to us.
sir,
If you
it
want
is,
in
sir.
Urdu.
Easy for all, sir. Urdu is best, sir.
Yeah, I was about to do it in Urdu, but our DSC lead said that you have to do it in English. So
Mehtab, they will be far better to speak in English language because there's a lot of good number of international students. You may see there's a good number. So that's why we're speaking English language.
Okay, sir. Carry on.
okay, so where will
Hello, sir.
hello?
I have a question, sir.
Okay,
Sir, which language we have to know first before starting Flutter?
we have to know the dot language, DRT, for the Flutter. It is a pretty simple
Okay.
language. What?
Yeah. Then?
Only you need to learn if you already have the programming background, in the Java or the
No, no. For a newcomer
for the
who
newcomer.
don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay.
Much appreciated for the language, issue that you have already discussed, that you are okay with the English. Thank you so much for the audience for this And another thing is, can you please note down your questions and you can ask in the end. We're gonna have 5 to 10 minutes for answering your questions.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good time.
Okay, where we now we have to set our path. Okay, we have set our path here. All right, we just need to copy the path from our window explorer, then you have to paste it here. That's it. That's it. Your path is set it here. All right, now what you need to do is, sorry, okay, we have cited the path here. All right, and now you have to install, okay, now you have to install the Flutter and the Dart plugin in your Android Studio. So for that we have to open up our Android Studio, and I just gonna show you from here. Okay, so you have to open up your Android Studio, then you have to go to the SDK manager, which is this icon. This is the icon of the SDK manager. You have to click here and you will come up with this screen. Now what you need to do here, you have to click on this plugin. Okay, now you have to write the Flutter plugin name. It will automatically come up. All right, the first step, the Flutter plugin, you have to install that plugin. Okay, and you also have to install the Dot plugin as well. As you install the Flutter plugin, the Dart is pretty much installed automatically. But sometimes if it doesn't work like that, all you need to do is to write the dot here and it will install the Flutter plugin easily. All right, this is done here. Our installation of the Flutter plugin and our dot plugin is done here. Now you have to go to the Flutter SDK folder, okay, which I'm already in. Now what you need to do here, okay, you have to open up this Flutter console. Okay, now what you need to write here, you have to write the command of the Flutter doctor. All right, and it will look for the errors. It will look for the the missing things in your Flutter SDK. If there is some kind of errors, like it will check the whether your Android Studio or VS Code is installed in your system or not, whether the Flutter SDK is installed or not, and it will also check for your Android virtual device or any emulator you have. And okay, I have one issue here, that the no device connected, and it is device connection is not kind of a, error, but it is kind of the warning. It will give you a kind of warning for that. Okay, so I don't have any error because I have already installed that, but there comes a most common error in the Flutter SDK. Whenever you first install that, you will always come up with let me just show you here. Okay, this most common error is always you come up with this Android license status unknown. You will always, if you are lucky enough, you will get only this error. But if you are unlucky somehow, then you will get more errors than this. All right. So how can we fix this error? You have to go. Okay, you have to go to this your Android Studio. Now you have to write okay, you have to open up this SDK manager. Okay, now what you need to do here, you to click on this SDK tools. All right, now you have to uncheck this hide obsolete packages for that error we were having in our system. And now you can see this file Android SDK tool obsolete, and all you need to do is you have to update this file and you won't get that error again. All right, you won't get that Android Studio error again in your whenever you run the Flutter doctor. Okay, but you have to do what you need to do now to solve this license problem. You will open up the Flutter doctor, then you have to write this command Android license, and it will ask you couple of questions. You have to go with the y and keep entering that y, and it will be working fine with that. Okay, So our installation of the Flutter SDK is done here. Now we have to learn about the Dart basics. Okay, we have the couple of topics which will be needing our in our Flutter project. So I will be discussing these topics today. So we will start with the Dart types and the list. Okay. So for the Dart practice, if you want to practice your Dart, you don't really need to download anything. You don't really need to download anything. You can do it on this website, pair.dev. All right. Okay. So first of all, we're going to talk about the data types and the list. Okay. In Flutter, we have integer, and we have a double, we have a string, and we also have the where var data kind of data type, and uh, var, and last one it was, let me just see, I just forgot that. It's dynamic. All right, you have the dynamic. Okay. Then we have a list, and let me just tell you that we don't have any array in the Dart, so we just use the list. We only have the list data type for the the multiple objects. So how do we declare the list? You have to write the list, then you have to write its name here, of the variable, whatever the name you want here, and then you have to write the values whatever you want in your list. It is kind of array, it is kind of like array, the same, it is kind of like array. All right, this is how you can declare your list. And integer x is equal to 10. All right, double phi is equal to 20.5. All right, and okay, we have a string. For string, you write name, Uncle Bob. We are going with Uncle Bob here. Okay, so these are the three. Actually, these are three different data types. And for the integer, double for the integer with the decimal values, and a string for the names, whatever we want to write in the characters. And how can we print out? How can we print out something in the Dart? So all you need to do is to we're just printing out the variable here, semicolon. Okay, and this is how you can print anything in the Dart. All right, now, okay, now let me just tell you about the difference of the war keyword and the dynamic keyword. What is the difference between the war keyword and the dynamic keyword? It is a pretty, the small difference between them. So it's the x10, and for the dynamic, y goes for the I will go with the string here. Okay, yeah, we're good here. Okay, in var, if you have written the var here, okay, if I want to change its value here, I want to change its value to the 20, and I want to change the value of the dynamic to the different, any different name. All right, okay, any different name. Now you can see they can change the values, but what is the main difference between the var and the dynamic? In the var you can only set the data type once, but in dynamic, whenever you want to assign the the second value, or you want to reassign the value, you can also change its data type. All right, but I cannot change the data type of the var second time. Whenever I want to reassign the value of the var, or var x, or whenever I want to reassign its value, you can't change its data type, but you can change its value. All right, we have changed its value. Let me just write it here. Not change.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, which language, yes, sir, you are using, sir, now?
I'm using the Dart language. It is a pretty much similar to the the C plus or Java. This is the Dart language.
Sir, what purpose, sir, for, sir, you will use, sir, this language?
For the Flutter, we use the, whenever we want to learn about the Android, so we use the Java. We will go with the Java or the Kotlin. But whenever you want to do the iOS development, you go with the Swift language. And the same way, whenever you want to make the application the Flutter, you have to write the application in the Dart language.
Sir, as I am sir new beginner, sir, therefore sir I can sir little bit
What?
sir.
What?
Sir, I am sir new sir in this field sir. Therefore sir I am understand a little bit.
Okay, you don't have the if you don't have the programming background, what you need to do, you have to go to the Google. You will find out the dot tutorial there, and start out from there. So you don't need to worry about that. All you need to do is to learn about the dot first. All right, then go to the Flutter. We use the dot language for the Flutter development. All right.
I know sir C language and sir C++ language sir. I also language sir Python.
Okay, you know about the Python language.
Yes sir.
It is kind of similar.
Yes sir.
You have to see that languages are for the purposes. All right. So for just like you use the Java for the Android development specifically, or Kotlin for the Android development as well. And if you want to go with the iOS development, the Apple okay, iOS development, you have to go with the I guess C sharp language. All right. So in the same way, if you want to make the application in the Flutter, you have to learn the dot language first. Then you have to go. Then you would be, good enough to learn about Flutter.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Okay. So we are have where we were war and the dynamic difference between them. Okay. In war, okay. Let me just write it again. In dynamic, you can change data type any time. Okay. Okay, in war you cannot change the data type. You can obvious, but you can change the value. But in dynamic, you can also change the data type anytime, whenever you want. All right. So you can see that in dynamic I have assigned a string value here, and whenever I reassign this value, I given it the string value again. But if I want to give the double value, not the string value, if I want to go with the the integer value or the double value, it will work fine here. It won't give me any kind of error here. I want to go with double. All right, it's not giving me any kind of error. But if I do the same thing, with the var keyword, x our x variable, I want to reassign its value, but into the string. Okay, Flutter. But it give me the error that the value of the string cannot be assigned to the variable of that type integer. Okay, what happened here, that in var, whenever you write the var here, you doesn't declare the specific data type here. But but dot automatically automatically identify the data type of your variable, which is the x data type on the value which you have put on the on the right side of the equal sign. All right, if I have written the 10 here, now the var automatically a dot automatically identified the data type of the x variable. And it is the same in the dynamic, but in the dynamic you can also change its data type. So there was a difference between the var and the dynamic. And let me just tell you the second thing here. We have the final and const. Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, dynamic is a variable like variable, string, int in C++. Is it?
I don't know. I think it's not available in C++. I'm not sure about that, but I guess it is a kind of, you can take it as a keyword and or the data type, that it can change its data type anytime, I guess. But I think it's not available in the C++.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have the final of the cons. We're gonna talk about the difference between them. Okay, so let me just put some values here. Okay. All right. X 10 double y is gonna be 20.5. All right. Now I want to declare another variable here. Uh, Final fx fx. All right. X and the const dy. I'm gonna write a value here. Okay, and 5. Okay, what is the difference between the final and the const? It is a kind of, if you have it is a kind of like, the private public, if you have ever, used the C plus or Java or any kind of language, but if you have never used that, the final is a kind of, is a kind of keyword that it means that if you ever set some variable to the final, you can never change its value again. All right. If I try to reassign the value here of the fx, I cannot do this. Okay, it will be giving me an error here. The final variable can only be set once. All right. So in final and the const, in the both, the keywords, whenever you put it with the any variable, their, values cannot be reassigned. You have to, remember that point. But there is a slight difference between the final and the const. In final, you can, the value is constant at the runtime, or you can assign, or if I do say it, you can assign a variable here. This is the kind of variable I have, assigned this variable here. Okay, but uh okay, but in constant, you cannot assign the variable here. If I try to write the y here, it will be kind of giving me the error that, where's the error? Okay. Okay, the constant variable must be initialized within the variable local is never used. Okay. Okay, where's the error here? Okay, all right. Let me just tell you here, the in const you cannot, you cannot assign the variable on the right side of the variable. Okay, if I can want to assign the y here, it won't be it's not possible, because in const you can only assign the constant value. You can only assign the value, not the variable. If I try to write 50 something like, or this 50.6 here, it will be assigned. But if I try to assign any, the variable, any other variable that I have previously declared, it won't, it will be give me the error, because in const you cannot do that. But it is possible in, okay, let me just write this 40.5, but it is possible in final. So that's the difference between them. That's the between, sorry, that's the difference between final and the const. In final, you can assign another variable in it, but in const you cannot assign another variable in it. It must be the constant value. All right. So this is the difference between the final and const. And now we have the conditional expressions. Okay, so now we gonna use the conditional expression. Okay, if you a condition expressions are, if else and else if. These are the kind of expressions. And switch, if you ever heard, is a kind of conditional expression as well. But in this video, in this, the bootcamp, we're gonna only talk about the if and else. So if I'm giving a kind of condition, okay, all right. If I'm giving the kind of condition, if the value of x is less than 10, then you have to write the block here. Or okay, now print me out that the value of 10 is less than, is less. Okay, value of x is less than 10. All right, I will put the else here, Okay, let me just write it first and explain it. Okay, now you have to print out that the value of x is equal to 10. Okay, if and else, this is a kind of conditional expression. Okay, we write the if. All right, if this condition is true, this is the kind of condition, x is less than 10. It is a kind of, you are giving a kind of condition in the small parenthesis and the small, the brackets. This is a kind of condition here. And if this condition is true, all right, if this condition is true, all right, if this condition is true, execute this part of the this block of the code. But if our condition is not so true, if it is if it go false, then you have to write that if the condition is false, then this block of code will be executed. And we know that the value of x is 10, so our first the condition that we have given here, the x must be the smaller than that sorry, x must be the smaller than 10, is gonna be the false condition. So this block of code will be executed here. Okay, so let's just run this. Okay, so our condition was not true, so this block of code was executed. But if what if we want to give more than one conditions, then we will be using if else. Okay, let me just else if. All right. Okay, in else if you have to give the condition again. All right, in this condition, what I want to give here, that it must be equal to 10. All right, but and if it's not so true, then what you need to write here, value of x is greater than 10. Okay, I think we're getting any kind of error here. All right, okay, I have an error the previous here. Cut this out and paste it here. Okay, this is working fine. Let's just run this. Okay, there is kind of error. Okay, I have to write the semicolon here. All right. Okay, our second condition in this scenario, our second condition is 2. But if I just change the value here, I'm then assigning the value of the x is 8, that, and our first condition will be true, the value of x is less than 10. So if you want to give more than one conditions, all right, so what will be you doing, that you will write the if here, if first, you will the first condition will always start with the if. All right, if, then you will write the condition here, then the all condition after the first condition, it could be the 3 condition or the 4 condition or the 2 conditions, then you would have to write the else if here for those conditions. The first condition is if the value of x is less than 10, print this out. All right, but if this condition is not true, it will check out the next condition which I have written here, if else in if else. All right, it will ask that if the value of x is equal to 10, then you have to print out this value. But if none of these values are true, if the first condition is, if the second condition, both of the conditions are not so true or false, then it will go with this. It is kind of if something is true, if something is true, you have to do this. But if it's not true, you have to do the other thing. So it is in the else, you have the same thing here. If the both conditions are not true, you have to print this thing out. All right, the value of x is greater than 10. If the value of x is not smaller than 10, or if the value of x is not equal to 10, so then you have to write it must be the value that is greater than value of 10. So value of x is greater than 10, though this is a kind of conditional expression. It depends on the condition you put in these small parameters. And you can also do it the same thing in the switch. A switch, it is also a kind of conditional expression, but we will not be using it today. Okay. Okay, there is a easier way of doing this if else condition. If you only have the one output, let me just show you. We can do the same thing with the ternary operators. So what you need to do here is just remove this thing, and first you will write the condition. Okay, what is our condition? What is our condition? Let me just write the operators that I'm talking about. It is a kind of ternary operators. You write the same. It work like same like if and else, but it just shorten out your code. It just shorten out your code. So first you will write the condition here. What condition we want? Looking for x is smaller than 10. This is our condition. Then you have to write this question mark. Okay, now you have to I want to write that value of x is smaller than 10. All right, and you will write the colon here, not the semicolon, colon here. Then you will print out here that value of x is is equal to 10. All right, you have to then write the semicolon here. Okay, what is that? In this ternary operators, first thing, let me just write it in the comment here. In the first thing you have to write here is the condition. Condition, this is okay. Then you will write the question mark here. So this is our condition. Whatever we write here before the question mark is our condition, and you can give only one condition here. You have to remember that point, that you can only give the single condition here. Okay, so if the condition is true, if true, this block of code will be executed. This code will be mm, executed. All right. Okay, then you will write the colon here. Okay, so if the condition is true, if our condition is true, the part after the question mark but before the colon will be executed if the condition, if our condition is true. All right, but if the condition is false, if false, this block of code will be okay executed. All right, so if the condition is true, all right, this is our condition. If this is true, this block of code will be executed. But if our condition is not true, it's false, then this block of code will be executed. All right, so in this scene where our condition is true, so this is that's why it is printing out the value of x is smaller than 10. But if our condition is not true, I write here the 12 here. Now you know that our condition is not true, it's false. Then this block of code will be executed. All right, you can see here the value of x is equal to 10. So that was this block of code, and this was the ternary operators which we'll be using in our Flutter from the tomorrow. And in this the Flutter topics, I'm just learning you, teaching you about only those topics which we will be using in our project. So we are good with the condition expressions. Now we have the functions are object three. So functions are the object. In Dart you can use the function as you can assign those functions as you can assign those function as a variable, or you can also assign it as a parameter in another class you want to use in. And you can do whatever you do with the object and the object thing. Okay, let me just write here the two functions. What you will write the function keyword here, then say hello is our, okay, not a void. Say hello. All right. Void. Let me just write it here. Okay. In this function, what will be printed out here? I want to print this is boot camp of, okay, Flutter. Right. So okay, now I have just written out the one function here. Now what, I have to write the second function as well. Function, just say so now say hello. Okay. All right. Print. Okay. Okay, there is some kind of error, I guess. Okay, I guess I have just made some kind of mistake here, which I really don't know what it is. Okay, functions are here. All right, we're good here. We have this, did this thing, and closure of the main expression. I think I have just did something wrong here, which I pretty don't remember. But I will tell you tomorrow about this. I will just get to know what wrong I have done something here. I'll just tell you tomorrow about this, the function of the object, which will be obviously using a in our Flutter application. But I know I just missed out something here, which is kind of giving the error. So let's just skip this point and move to the next one. Big arrow or the fat arrow. Okay, so we can just remove this thing here. Okay, so let's just make a class here. Class, class student. Okay, class student. Okay, and we have to write the integer id 30 20 and string name is Martin here. Okay, all right. So this is how you write the class in the Dart, and for the constructor, what we do is we have to write the name of the class, exactly the same name of a class. Then you have just this is how you, okay, and you can do this. This is the constructor of your class. But if you do not write the constructor of the class, it just automatically or by default write out the constructor for you. But if you want to do something more customized with the constructor, you have to write down you have to write down things here. Okay, whatever topic was big arrow or the, okay. So in big arrow, what we need to do here, let me just write a method here, display. Okay, and let me just write here, okay, print, this is my class, right? And we have to write the we have to make the object of class student here. So student, we have to initialize it. Okay, one more point here, that in Dart, this keyword and the new keyword are omitted. So it is a the better practice not to use the new keyword or new keyword. All right. So we'll just simply route the student here. Okay, we're good here. Now I want to use this void method, this display method. Okay, this will print out. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. We have just display. We have just execute our display method. And what was we were talking about, the big arrow, the fat arrow? Okay, so whenever you try to write any function, you have to write these the small brackets. Then you have to write the curly brackets. But instead of curly bracket, if you don't want to write the curly brackets, what can you do here is, okay, let me just tell you here. Okay, you can do this equal sign and this the greater sign, and you can also, this is the same thing we have done before. So this is a kind of big arrow or the fade arrow. So instead of using the curly brackets, if you only have a single statement or the one statement in your method or in your class, you can use the curly bracket. You can use this fat arrow instead of the curly brackets. So it will work fine. It will work same as the curly brackets. So nothing will be changed here. Okay, so it just executed the same thing here. Okay, and the last thing, we have the named function parameters. Okay, in the name function parameters, let me just tell you one more thing here. Okay, I will be using the uh, curly brackets here because I have to print out the most. If you want to print out more statements than one statement, then you will be better be using the curly brackets. All right. So I want here id. All right, our id variable as a parameter, and I also want the string name parameter here. Okay, and now what we can do here, string in a string. Okay, name and batch. Right. So 2k19. All right. So this is our third variable, which I'll be using here as a parameter. All right. So whenever, now you can see that there is a kind of error here, that you can see that this error, that the three positional arguments expected. I have given the three the parameters in my method. So whenever you try to use the method, whenever you try to use that method in which you have given the parameters, so you also have to write those parameters. So you can see that it is writing here the positional arguments. All right, these are positional, so I have to give the values here. So I'm just cutting out the values here. I will be giving it in my method. All right. So okay, let me just write one more thing here. Print id, and we have to print name as well.
अच्छा, we can see that this language is not that difficult.
Yeah,
मतलब आसान है काफी.
yeah, it's pretty much simple if you have the background, but if you don't even have it, even simpler. The as compared to the C plus or the Java, which is pretty much the.
मेरा ऑल्दो इतना प्रोग्रामिंग का अच्छा बैकग्राउंड नहीं है, मतलब मैं प्रोग्रामिंग वगैरह देखता रहता हूँ, प्रैक्टिस नहीं इतनी करता, फिर भी मुझे थोड़ा बहुत समझ आ रहा है ये.
हाँ हाँ, ये काफी इजी है जावा। अगर आप जावा को देखते हो तो काफी लेंथी है। अगर इट इज काइंड ऑफ पाइथन अगर आपने यूज की हो तो उसी की तरह है, मतलब बिल्कुल स्मॉल सा कोड है, थोड़े से हर चीज थोड़े से कोड में हो जाती है।
इसमें जो गूगल की एपीआईज है वो भी लग जाती हैं, जैसे ट्रैकिंग है, या वो जिस तरह जीपीएस से वो जो ट्रैकिंग करते हैं, जैसे जैसे अगर कोई एम्प्लॉय ट्रैकर का सॉफ्टवेयर बना रहा हो स्पेसिफिकली।
नेविगेशन वाली।
नेविगेशन वाली नहीं, मतलब ट्रैकिंग, जैसे एक एम्प्लॉय है वो अगर अपने ऑफिस में उसका देखना
Yes,
हो
sir.
कि वो जो है अपने
Every
ऑफिस
API
में।
can be used, sir. It can be imported.
इट कैन बी इम्पोर्टेड, वो
ओके,
उसकी
इट हैज टू
अवेलेबल।
बी इम्पोर्टेड।
या
जस्ट मतलब इट बिल्कुल सिमिलर है जिस तरह एंड्रॉयड।
या सिमिलर, बिल्कुल
Yep,
वैसे
yep,
ही है।
everything.
एवरीथिंग इज काइंड ऑफ सिमिलर, सारी वो चीज़ें हैं, वही चीज़ें हैं, कोई मुश्किल काम नहीं है इसमें। And you can also use the in Flutter, you can also use the dot as the backend language. But for the backend in Flutter, there are the couple of things. We have the Firebase. You can also use the Node.js for it, and you can
What about
also.
I'm doing a project named as Employee Tracker. So I am doing it in Android, Java, and for the RESTful APIs I'm using PHP.
Okay.
It's both a web and Android application. So
All right.
इधर इस अल्टरनेटिव क्या हो सकता है? इसका अल्टरनेटिव जो है वो आप नो फायरबेस हो सकता है PHP का?
Excuse me.
No, sir, Python.
Python. Okay. So only Python can be used. PHP can't be used.
I'm not मतलब Flutter में अगर आप एकदम if you want to for the backend, there are a couple of things I just tell you. You can normally for the small projects or the normal projects you use the Firebase, and for the the big project, if you want to go bigger, the larger application or the big complex application, you go for the Node.js. But at some the on Quora, I have also read that you can also use the Python for that, but I'm not pretty confirm about that.
Which framework of Python, Flask or Django, which is better,
Yeah,
or and which is
well,
simpler?
Excuse
I'm
me.
not, I'm not sure about that because I don't know about the Python that much.
Okay,
Well, we have very less time. Can we just stick to the topic and we just, hold some queries for the last?
Okay,
okay,
so
okay. That was just a 15-second thing. Thank you.
okay, where we were on the positional arguments, but our topic is the name function parameters. So if we can also use these the parameters as the name function parameters whenever we write the the normal parameters. They are kind of the positional arguments, and it is kind of organized. If you let me just show you here. Let me just show you here. Okay, the first thing is ID, all right, which is 9, and the second is a string. So we're gonna use the name. Okay, no, name Martin here, and the third thing is the badge. Okay, in the badge I'm gonna write 2K19 here. Okay, we are fine here. Okay. Okay, you can see this is a simple your normal positional parameters, but now we are talking about the named parameters. When you have the more the parameters more than 5 or 10, so how could you remember the sequence of the parameter, what you have written first, for name and the name, batch and the ID. You can't remember the more parameters in the sequence. So in Dart, you can also do the the function. Oh, all right, let me just show you here. You can also do the named parameter. But for the named parameter, what you need to do here, you have to use this semicolons here. All right, you have to read this, put those parameters into the semicolon. Now you can use those parameters as name and hopefully page. Okay, yeah, now you can see that I can write the name of the parameter I have written here, but it is and I can write them, you know if I do write the batch here and I want to write the name in the last. Okay, name in the last, it won't be any kind of problem here. But whenever you try to do this thing with the positional arguments, it will set the value, it will won't say the it will exchange the values between the those parameters. So this is this is the named parameter functions, and you can also use it in the class whenever you make the parameters of the class, parameters of the class, you can convert it into the name parameters just by putting those parameters into these curly brackets. All right, so this was the last topic of the dot base, I guess, basics. You got the point, all the points I have taught you. All right, Sadaqat, we are done here, I guess.
Thank you so much, Fahad. Participant, can you please fill up the attendees form? It's mandatory. Please just respond to the form. Can left the meeting. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, so the
Close the
meeting is
recording
over.
by tonight.
The session is over.
If anybody topic we have
Sir,
already covered from the topics for now, so you can ask.
sir, how we can get input from user?
Okay, for the input, in the Flutter, if you're using the Flutter for the input, you have the text field there, so you don't need to learn about how to take the input in a Dart here. So it is quite simpler in there. There to the text field, you will get to see that text field in the Flutter. So you will just get the input from the user directly from there, so you don't actually need to learn about how to take the input in the Dart. But if you want to learn, you can go for it. But I actually don't remember how do we take this here in the Dart, because I never used it in my application or anything else.
Oscar, you may see the text message by Ganesha Maheshwari in the chat portion. You may see kind of text will be there by Ganesha Maheshwari, and there will be a kind of method for inputting into the Dart language.
Okay, can I ask a question? How can we track, like we are doing the basic things, but थोड़ा सा out of the box question है कि अपना हम किसी को real time कैसे track कर सकते हैं? जैसे अगर कोई tracking, जैसे कोई employee tracker है, कोई employee अपने ऑफिस में है या नहीं है, मतलब assuming के एंड्रॉयड फोन उसकी जेब में है और उससे वो जो है ट्रैक हो रहा है, मतलब कि उसमें एप्लीकेशन इंस्टॉल्ड है जिससे वो ट्रैक हो रहा है.
Okay, so this is that Umar, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Umar.
Umar, for tracking you have to use a Node.js. Okay. Or I would like to request that if you have queries regarding the topics we have covered, so you can ask here if anybody. And Umar, we can get in touch and we can discuss on your project later on too. I think we already have discussed so much on your project, right? So for the tracking, you just need to use the Node.js. Okay.
Okay. Oh, this is Sadakat.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Umar. Thank you so much.
सर
Yes.
Thank you.
सर हम डार्ट को 3 प्लेटफॉर्म के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं, कितने प्लेटफॉर्म के लिए? जैसे हम तो iOS और इसके लिए यूज कर सकते हैं ना, एंड्रॉइड के लिए.
Okay, dot com ना क्या कहते हैं, in Flutter it is not only about the Android और the iOS. Flutter जो है ना वो उसके लिए भी, अपना वेब के लिए भी और अपना डेस्कटॉप के लिए भी. बट आई थिंक जो वेब है वो अभी आपके बीटा वर्जन में, तो इट इज़ नॉट इनटू द, अभी वो इतना तैयार नहीं है कि वो उसमें हम डेवलपमेंट वगैरह कर सकें. पर डार्ट आप यूज़ करते हो दोनों में, इन iOS एंड क्या कहते हैं उसको, एंड्रॉयड. You can use in the board. आप एक कोड ही लिखते हो फ्लटर में. Let me just tell you, in Flutter you only write the one code. All right, you only write the one code which is in the Dart. So what you need to do whenever you want to deploy it on the Android as well as on the iOS. For the iOS, obviously you gotta need the MacBook Pro for the deployment and all the thing. And this is simple. You can do it with the one code. You don't need to write the different code for the iOS and the different code for the Android, I guess. This could.
Sir, exe files create करवाने के लिए we have to do some kind of embedding or not?
इसके लिए
exe files बनाने के लिए, like desktop Windows की files बनाने के लिए, तो हमें क्या कुछ embedding करनी पड़ेगी हमारे कोड में, या फिर एक ही कोड iOS वाला या Android वाला चल जाएगा?
Yeah, honestly, I never used it into the desktop version or the web version, so I'm not confirm about it. पर जितना मैंने पढ़ा है उसमें ये लिखा है कि आपको यही कोड यूज करना पड़ता है. You don't need to any other language or any other code for the application at least.
Okay, how about Fuchsia?
Fuchsia, yeah. एक और बात, Flutter in about the Fuchsia, ये बात है कि Fuchsia is a kind of the OS जो Google बना रही है. I think it's in development और शायद बना भी लिया. I'm not pretty sure about it. लेकिन in future whenever Fuchsia will be launched, ठीक है, तो उसमें जो भी एप्लीकेशन आपकी बनेगी वो Flutter के ऊपर ही बनेगी. Let me just टेल यू कि उसमें जो भी आपकी एप्लीकेशन बनेगी वो वहां पर ही बनेगी. तो उसमें भी यही कोड होगा, आपका कोई कोड चेंज नहीं होगा, यही डार्ट यूज होगा
Sir,
एंड ऑल
Flutter
दैट.
framework is kind of a kind of new thing for in the field of development. So is it
Yeah,
buggy?
it's it could be buggy, but I'm not sure about is that buggy. You have the the back of the Google and इसकी जो क्या कहते हैं डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, या जो अभी अगर आप इसकी कम्युनिटी देखोगे तो वो जो 2 साल में काफी जो है ना ज्यादा हो गई है. इसने ऑलमोस्ट आई गेट रिएक्ट जेएस को जो ना क्रॉस कर लिया है ऑन द स्टैक ओवरफ्लो और द शायद स्टैक ओवरफ्लो भी के में. तो आई थिंक इट कुड बी, बट
Yeah, I've
बट
रिएक्ट
seen
जेएस
so
और
many
रिएक्ट
kind of
नेटिव?
जी,
इज
React
इट
Native.
रिएक्ट नेटिव की बात कर रहे हैं, रिएक्ट जेएस की बात कर रहे हैं?
React Native.
रिएक्ट नेटिव है शायद. हाँ, रिएक्ट नेटिव.
Yeah, I've seen native. Sir, I've seen so many kind of contributors for the Flutter framework and developments, all about concern about that one. But I haven't seen any kind of security analysts working on it publicly. There might be kind of triagers who might be private for this program, but I haven't seen any kind of security analyst working publicly on any kind of responsible disclosure program for it. So मुझे लगता है it's buggy still.
या इस देखो कि नई लैंग्वेज अभी ये जो लॉन्च